Hello friends, I'm out at Lake Superior with the forest monks. We're doing some swimming out here. It's probably in the mid-30s. The water, it's pretty, it's nice out here, but 2 degrees Celsius. It's been some good swimming. Today I wanted to talk about cause and effect. And this is a subject that a couple other videos I've done, I've talked about them being trigger videos. So these have the potential to trigger realizations inside of us. Again, these are not supposed to be descriptions of reality to tell you how things are or are not, but to take our current view and to undermine it and then see what happens, because sometimes then our mind can flash and see something that it hasn't seen before. My name is Kenton Whitman, and I believe in you. So specifically, when we talk about seeing the world in a non-dual way, there are some foundation stones that keep our mind dualistic. Those foundation stones are our sense of self, our sense of ego. They're all interrelated, you'll see. Another one is that subject-object duality that seems so real to us. Another one is the sense of linear time. And the one I want to talk about today is cause and effect. This strong feeling that there are causes that create effects. And that gets us into all kinds of strange places, including, for instance, trying to figure out the beginning of existence or reality, because we go back and we need to have a first cause, and we get tangled in that question. Considering cause and effect and undermining it and seeing what's left has practical effects on our life, and it also has some mystical potentiality. And the mystical potentiality, again, is that triggering. The practical effect is that often our sense of cause and effect is what creates tension inside of us when I try to, for instance, blame somebody else for an effect in my life that I sense that they have caused. So that's where looking at cause and effect can really change things, both on a practical level, and we'll see if maybe you'll experience something here when we talk about the nature of cause and effect and see if we can undermine it for you. Okay, so let's try it out. It's very obvious, right, that there are causes and effects in the world. There's a rock. I'm going to release it. That's going to be the cause. The effect is going to be that it drops. And this seems very clear-cut in our minds, so much so that we then can take it as a reality. When I say reality, I mean a non-human reality. And I can then look out and say, let's look at the universe, and we can say that the cause of that crater that we see on the moon was the impact of a meteor. Again, it sounds perfect, perfectly logical, perfectly rational in our minds. But we can make a switch. And again, I'm not trying to describe the way reality is or isn't here, but notice that there's something flawed, there's something missing in that view of reality. What I'm hoping to trigger or show you is that this idea that this is the cause, that's the effect, is actually a construct in the human mind and doesn't have much or anything to do with reality itself. Okay. First of all, note that where I draw the line for the cause between cause and effect is kind of arbitrary. I could say the cause is my fingers opening up. I could say that the cause is the muscles here that are going to cause the fingers to open up. I could say the cause is the decision that happens just a little bit before I open up my fingers. I could say that the cause is gravity pulling the rock down. I could get, if you go with me there, I could get a little wackier and I could say the cause was the meal I ate yesterday, which has, in a line of cause and effect, created the situation where I'm here. The cause could have been my birth. Otherwise, this never would have happened. In my sense of time scale, I want to draw the line, vaguely somewhere either in the opening of the fingers or the decision to open the fingers or the muscles operating, somewhere in there. If I was I was one of these stones and I could see from that time scale, then my life might just be a little blip. And if I single out the rock falling as an important part of that, then I might say, the birth of that human being was the cause of that rock falling. So, noticing that I can draw that line in various places starts to show us that, wait, there's no real cause here except where I'm going to draw my line. And further than that, the causation of this falling is very complex. It's not just my fingers opening. It has to do with gravity, which has to do with there's a planet underneath me, which has to do with the planet is here and I'm on the planet because of the distance it is around the sun and the formation of our solar system. I can go in all kinds of crazy places with this as I try to figure out what causality is. At the same time, here's the trigger, at the same time I could see that because I could draw that line anywhere, I could just as easily say that there is no line. That everything, including this happening, is a smooth action, a smooth, continuous action in my experience, in my world. And that any lines I draw on that are just lines that I've singled out and I've said, okay, this is an important thing. And this is what I'm going to say caused that. But in reality, I've picked this up. There's a smooth motion. It may look like something's, stopped here, but really everything is moving here. And then at some point it drops back down. It's done this a number of times. And there's a continual, smooth, organic movement of thought, of decisions, of opening and closing of fingers, of dropping and picking up of stones. It is just as viable for me to see the whole world as one smooth, continuous motion with no lines of cause or effect anywhere to be found. If I begin to see the world like that, sometimes my mind will say, oh my gosh, and it will take these words that I'm saying and it will see, okay, this is not just a head game, this is actually pointing to an assumption, an idea I've laid down about the world, and I've formed my whole worldview around this idea of cause and effect. And just as easily, I could have been brought up in a culture that saw all the things of the world as a smooth, organic motion, as completely interconnected. And the shift may look subtle, but the effects are rather dramatic. Because I don't see the world then operating in this chopped up way. I don't see this idea of blaming all these things for other things. Because I see that there's a smooth motion going on, and anytime I blame, I need to chop out a bit of the world. It undermines a lot of the basic conflict that I have with the world. So on a practical level, it shows me that a lot of the frustrations that we can have, a lot of the things we can get angry about, a lot of the things we can feel justified about, getting pissed off about, that these things may be part of a smooth motion that is much more interconnected than our mind wants to believe in its chopped up fashion. And then I start to see the problems of the world in a new way. I become integrated with them. I don't see something terrible happening in the world and say, oh, there's this terrible thing happening out there. I realize that I'm part of that. And in being part of that in some way, I feel more empowered to shift or change it. On the mystical side of things, if we can suddenly feel, viscerally feel, that there are no lines of cause and effect in the world, it begins to undermine one of these foundation blocks. And all these foundation blocks, as I said, are interconnected. If one of those tumbles, all the rest will tumble. And when those tumble, the world suddenly takes on a completely new look. It no longer feels chopped up. It no longer feels full of frustration. It no longer feels agitated. My attempts to control and manipulate it begin to shift and change in a way that I'm dancing with the world instead of fighting it. This is what waits for us if we start to really look at these basic ideas, these basic assumptions that we've accepted about how the world works. Cause and effect is a powerful one. It's one that isn't spoken about a lot because it's so basic in our conceptual framework that it's difficult to see it. It's like seeing the end of our nose. But hopefully this video has turned your eye to it a little bit. And maybe in my description, something happened for you. If you experienced any sort of a trigger or realization during this video, or you've thought or realized something about this in the past, please share it in the comments. And anything else about cause and effect, tell me your thoughts about it. Places where you feel like it's real in the world. Places where you've seen that it's an illusion. What is cause and effect to you? Thank you as always, my friends, for watching. We'll talk with you soon.